For more than 2 decades, a professor at the University of Chicago, Robert Pape, has been running models on a potential war between the United States and Iran. What probably started as just a thought experiment has turned into something that looks chillingly like the crisis we're seeing unfold right now. So let's dive into his model and see what it tells us about the really dangerous trap America might have already stepped into.
That line, that's not from some action movie. That is a direct quote from a US president, a person with access to thousands of nuclear weapons. And it was directed at Iran, a country with 92 million people. I mean, it just doesn't get more serious than that.
So the big question is, how did we end up here, right on the edge? Well, according to Pape's work, this wasn't an accident. It's actually the result of a predictable and maybe preventable series of moves and, more importantly, miscalculations. So let's break it down. The whole thing, according to this model, is built on one single flawed American idea about Iran's actual strength. This one assumption has basically colored every decision and led the US down this incredibly dangerous path. Okay, so just look at the difference here. This slide really says it all. For years, the general thinking in Washington was that Iran was this paper tiger, just about to collapse. But the reality on the ground is completely different. Iran has shown that it's actually really resilient. It has deep resources, its weapons are spread out, and, this is the key part, its people actually become more unified when they're facing an outside threat.
So why wouldn't a bombing campaign work? Why can't you just deliver a knockout blow? Well, Pape has this great analogy. It's like panning for gold. You can bomb the big industrial building, that's the pan, but you can't really destroy the enriched nuclear material itself, that's the gold. It's either buried way too deep, or it's already been moved to lots of different places. On top of that, Iran has done the same thing with its missiles and drones. It means they can take a massive hit, maybe lose 80% of their stuff, and still have enough firepower to strike back hard.
And that first mistake, that underestimation of Iran, is what springs the trap. Pape's model lays out this predictable 4-stage trap that, once you're in it, is just incredibly difficult to escape. Let's take a look at the steps.
So here it is, the roadmap for this whole crisis. It kicks off with stage 1, US bombing, and we've already seen that happen. But instead of collapsing, the regime actually gets stronger. That leads directly to stage 2, Iran retaliates. But here's the thing, they don't fight head-on. They use a really clever tactic called horizontal escalation.
And this shows you exactly how smart their strategy is. Horizontal escalation basically means Iran changes the entire battlefield. They know they can't win a head-to-head fight with the US military, right? So they don't even try. Instead, they seize control of the Strait of Hormuz, a tiny choke point that 20% of the world's oil flows through. Suddenly, they have immense leverage, and it forces the US into a really, really tough spot.
So after those first 2 stages, the United States finds itself stuck at a major fork in the road. And according to the model, there's no turning back. You can't just go back to the way things were before. And this is where the trap snaps shut. You're left with an unavoidable choice. Path number 1 leads to stage 3, a huge, expensive, and politically toxic ground war to try and take back the strait. Path number 2 leads to stage 4. You back down. And by doing that, you accept the rise of Iran as a brand new world power.
Now, choosing that ground war option, well, it's not some quick in-and-out operation. As Pape points out, the second American troops start taking casualties, the political pressure at home to finish the job and to honor the fallen soldiers becomes overwhelming. It basically locks the U.S. into a long, bloody, and drawn-out conflict.
Okay, so what about that other path? What does a world actually look like if the U.S. decides to avoid war and Iran gets to solidify its control and become a major power, not just in the region but on the world stage? To really get this, we have to rewind a bit. Back in the 1990s, right after the Cold War ended, the U.S. was in what people call a unipolar moment. As you can see from this chart, American power compared to rivals like Russia and China was just completely unmatched. Now, let's fast forward to today. Yeah, that picture has totally changed. As you can see, China's economic boom has really closed that gap. We're just not living in a unipolar world anymore.
And here, this is the future that Stage 4 warns about. An empowered Iran, now controlling a huge chunk of the world's oil, officially teams up with Russia and China. What you get is a powerful new bloc that can directly challenge America's influence and its economic stability on a global scale.
And the fallout from that would be immediate. You'd see Asian allies like India and Japan, who are desperate for that oil, start to distance themselves from the U.S. The anti-Iran coalition in the Gulf would just fall apart. And with Iran and Russia possibly working together, they could hold 30% of the world's oil supply hostage, which would send a devastating shock through the global economy. So, beyond all the high-level strategy and geopolitics, we have to remember there is a real, tangible human cost to all of this, both in the terrible reality of what a war would look like and in the difficult choices you'd have to make to avoid one.
Let's just sit with this number for a second. 92 million people. We're talking about teachers, doctors, kids who are all living with the threat of having their civilization wiped out overnight. They're the ones who are truly caught in the crossfire here. And if there were an attack on something like the power grid, it would be an absolute catastrophe. We're talking about a total breakdown of society. No electricity means no refrigeration, so food spoils on a mass scale. Hospitals would grind to a halt. Life-saving treatments like dialysis would just stop. The end result would literally be a measurable drop in life expectancy for an entire country. So, the big question, is there any way out of this trap? According to Pape's model, there might be one single off-ramp, but it's not easy. It would require a really bold and frankly unconventional diplomatic deal, one that would force every country involved, including America's own allies, to make some huge, uncomfortable sacrifices. So that's where we're left. We're trapped between two truly awful outcomes, a brutal, maybe endless war on one side, or a massive shift in global power that could weaken America for decades on the other. Is there a third path? And maybe more importantly, is there the political courage to even try and find it? That, right now, is the crucial unanswered question.